rumors started surfacing about Jaden's concerns regarding the relationship between Diddy and his dad, revealing that Jaden had walked in on meetings between his father and Diddy. These encounters didn't seem like mere catch-ups between old friends.
Diddy had every room taped and bugged. Diddy had, bruh, can you imagine? He had every room taped and bugged, and they found little bugs or little tape recorders. Little those micro projectors or whatever like that, or video cameras. They found them in the house, bro. So by them having those things in the house, and people know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, woman on woman, man on man, all kind of crazy shit. Bruh, they just wondering who or when they're gonna let this stuff be known.
You're gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time.
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes. As his lawyers argue, the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
Back up a little bit, please. How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
Mr. Combs feels A, he's innocent, which is why he's not going to plead guilty. B, he's going to be truthful about this case because he wants to portray that to the people who have loved him his whole life. And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government. He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what? Maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and forced. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Isn't that, to my mind, that's one of the bigger hurdles in selecting a jury this coming week, is that there is, at least anecdotally, when I talk to people, they have that opinion, strongly held opinion, that there's celebrity tapes, that they've kind of conflated Epstein, and you mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell and all of these things into Diddy. There's this idea that somehow this is Epstein redux or something.
What made you come here to support Puff?
I'm supporting Puff because he's innocent, and I'm wholeheartedly believing his innocence, and I know he's innocent. So
you say you know he's innocent?
1,000%.
Now, Diddy was in court today. He was wearing the tan MDC inmate uniform, even though the judge gave him permission for when the trial starts to wear regular, what they're calling business casual, a button-down shirt. But he was offered a plea deal to make this whole case go away. But Diddy stood up through the entire reading and this entire process of back and forth with the judge and the prosecutors and the defense team, and said that he understood what he was doing. He did not want the plea deal, and that he was rejecting it.
It's the last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts. When he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
What happens is, if people go into a trial believing the firepower on the prosecution is so strong, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it's a 95. That it's so strong, but it goes down to an 88. That helps the defense, because everybody goes in thinking, wow, they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and all of a sudden, none of it's there. I think that actually helps the defense.
Would you be open to a plea bargain?
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening.
Why?
Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent. And what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars. A magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors."
Actor-rapper Jaden Smith supposedly agreed only hours ago to testify for the government in the coming federal trial of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Two well-placed sources whispered, if prosecutors confirm it, Smith would become the first marquee insider to step onto the witness stand, injecting fresh drama into proceedings already blazing under tabloid spotlights.
Do you still think that, because there is this public perception, that there are celebrity tapes involved in this case?
No.
Do you still think that there are minors involved in this case?
I'm certain no.
Okay.
And again, when you say this case, we're talking the criminal case.
The criminal case.
In the
correct.
criminal,
I know that.
In the criminal case, no.
Yet, as jury selection opened in Manhattan, court papers listed more than 24 potential government witnesses, and Smith's name simply was not there. Silence from both prosecutors and Smith's camp leaves viral posts gasping for credibility. A reminder that rumors sprint while facts jog. Combs, now 55, has pleaded not guilty to one racketeering conspiracy count plus a slate of related federal charges the government says cover a decade-long pattern of coercion running from 2012 to 2022. Assistant United States Attorney Melissa Mount promises testimony describing isolation tactics and financial pressure, while defense lawyer Marc Agnifilo counters that every relationship was consensual and accuses officials of criminalizing private life.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame exploit both women and men for decades.
Media law professor Jane Kirtley warns that runaway headlines may taint a jury pool, and platforms have already pinned contentious labels on clips pushing the Smith story. The indictment cites 4 anonymous women who claim Combs's staff handled travel, lodging, and payments. One says he threatened to wreck her career if she spoke. Another alleges physical harm that left lasting scars. Investigators point to encrypted chats, ledgers, and digital calendars seized during Thanksgiving week raids on homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York as evidence of systematic planning. The defense presses to suppress cloud data, branding the search as a fishing expedition, and Judge Aaron Subramanian will hear arguments 4 days before opening statements scheduled for May the 12th. Civil litigation mirrors the criminal fight.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted.
5 women have filed New York suits since late 2023, 2 relying on a state statute that temporarily revives older claims. Plaintiff's lawyer Douglas Wigdor vows discovery will keep rolling, though Combs asks Justice Nancy Bannon for a pause. Meanwhile, brands flee. Beverage giant Diageo ended a 17-year partnership in January. Revolt Media shuffled leadership, and advertisers yanked campaigns, citing headline turbulence.
He knows the deck is stacked against him. They've got a ton of evidence. Take the plea deal, dude. Just take it.
Well, my guess is that, because we don't know the deal of the plea deal. At least I don't think we do.
True.
Okay.
Combs remains free on a $10 million bond backed by New Jersey real estate, must steer clear of unnamed witnesses, and has surrendered passports. Any slip-up means an instant trip back into custody, the judge warns. A tentative witness slate spans former bodyguards, drivers, medical professionals, and Valerie Williams, once chief of staff at Combs Enterprises. Prosecutors call her pivotal in showing how employees walled women off from support. The defense paints her as disgruntled and eager to dodge a payroll tax probe. Parallel inquiries deepen. The Los Angeles County District Attorney quietly reopened a 2019 misconduct complaint after new witnesses surfaced, though no state charges have landed. Financial records peg Combs' net worth near $600 million, including $185 million in music publishing. Prosecutors have filed forfeiture notices on Malibu and Star Island estates should a conviction follow.
She did, and when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be released.
Expect roughly 8 weeks of prosecution evidence, then maybe a fortnight for the defense. Expert summaries arrive June the 2nd, pre-charge. Motions by July the 7th, setting up a verdict before the August recess if calendars hold. Prosecutors will lead with a former executive assistant who claims she booked flights, hotels, and appearance fees within what she labels a matrix of control. Should jurors convict on racketeering and any companion counts, Combs could face a life-equivalent sentence plus mandatory restitution. Filings trace the probe's arc. It began in April 2022 when a former assistant contacted. The FBI advanced through phone subpoenas, sealed declarations, and a 60-day wiretap that captured thousands of encrypted texts. Agents later collected 27 terabytes of data, and a sealed forensic report ties nearly 39,000 messages and more than 300 calendar entries to 4 Jane Does. Prosecutors say timestamps on over 130 party videos match alleged incidents. The defense insists the clips merely show spirited tour nights and seeks their exclusion at a June 11th hearing. Digital forensics dominate pre-trial skirmishes. FBI technicians carved out nearly 500 deleted files. Defense experts challenge metadata integrity. The judge ordered joint testing on sample sets and urged both sides to agree on what can be authenticated. He also approved a color-coded exhibit system, blue sheets for the government, yellow for the defense, to help jurors keep evidence straight. Security is tight. Deputy United States Marshal Raymond Miles reports that 3 complainants have relocated under protection orders, and marshals have rehearsed covert entry drills. Any intimidation, Subramanian warns, will spark obstruction charges. Misinformation still whirls. Posts falsely claim comedian Dave Chappelle and producer Pharrell Williams will testify. Researcher Joan Donovan notes that celebrity gossip travels faster than subpoenas, complicating voir dire. Platforms have started attaching community notes in response. The music world teeters. Universal Music Group froze royalty advances under a morals clause, and tracking firm Media Radar says sponsor content on Revolt plunged nearly 2/3 between last December and early April. Industry voices split. DJ Khaled declares loyalty. To Combs, singer Kehlani praises alleged survivors, and Revolt names DeTavio Samuel's interim chair. Legislators watch closely. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee revived the STAR Act in mid-April to widen restitution options for entertainment industry survivors, with advocacy group Rights for All claiming the Combs saga highlights systemic gaps. Inside the courtroom, Subramanian keeps things brisk. Objections must stay concise, nightly transcripts will be posted, and electronics remain barred in the main chamber, though an overflow room seats accredited press. A status conference on May the 9th will finalize witness order and settle remaining disputes over expert testimony and video clips. As calendars tighten, both sides brace to argue whether thousands of messages and disputed videos paint a coordinated exploitation network or merely reflect consensual adult relationships viewed through a prosecutorial lens. Whatever the verdict, the trial seems poised to redraw where racketeering law meets the entertainment business and proves once again that in the age of instant rumor, a single unverified headline can upstage weeks of sworn testimony.